Hey everyone, welcome. I'm MisterBo, and yesterday Ubisoft kind of surprised most people by releasing a demo for the upcoming Immortals Fenyx Rising. Obviously, it was called Gods and Monsters before and got a name change, and this is a game that wasn't really on my radar when it first got announced. I believe maybe last year or the year before at Ubisoft's E3 press conference. We then saw some leaked gameplay of it from Stadia earlier in the year, and from what I'd seen, people were comparing it a lot to, say, Zelda Breath of the Wild. It wasn't until Ubisoft Forward earlier this year where we got our first proper look at this game, we got the name change, and it's a game that suddenly popped up on my radar as a game that I was very excited to try out. As someone who's never owned a Nintendo Switch, I missed out on Breath of the Wild, and I've been looking for a game that has that similar kind of vibe to it, and again, from everything that I've seen, it looks like this game is going to capture that essence, but be a game that is available to everyone on any platform. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my impressions from the Stadia demo, and if you want to go ahead and play this for yourself, you can do so. At first I was like, oh, it's on Stadia, does that mean I need something? Nope, you just log onto your computer, go onto your Chrome browser, and you can play keyboard or mouse, or as I discovered, you can just plug in your Xbox controller. Obviously, because it is streaming from Stadia, it does have a little bit of a hiccup every so often if your internet isn't, say, the best, and it looked like maybe the graphics weren't as good as they could be. If you're going to be buying this on, say, your PlayStation 5, your Series X, or just PC, I feel like it will look a lot better. It did seem a little bit flat when I was playing it. So there'll be a link in the description below if you want to go ahead and try this out for yourself, which I highly recommend because, spoiler alert, I really like this game and it's made me even more excited for its release on December 3rd. However, that doesn't mean there aren't a few things that I would like to see changed. So it seems like this is maybe a self-contained demo in terms of this isn't actually a part of the main game. I wasn't really too sure on that. Just from the sort of story elements and the cutscenes we were given, it does seem like you won't be playing this exact same mission in the full game, but again, I'm not entirely sure. So the whole point of this demo is for you to go ahead and try and find this harp, which will then unfreeze this giant cyclops, ends in a pretty cool boss fight. Now this is an open world RPG game and it's only single player. There are no co-op or multiplayer elements to this game. I would like to maybe see some sort of co-op DLC added in after launch. I think that could be a lot of fun. We're seeing that with a game like Ghost of Tsushima, and well, that seems to be doing really well, and I think maybe just 2 to maybe 4 player co-op would suit this game's style. But because this is an RPG, it means you can get better weapons. You have 3 main weapons. You have your sword, you have your axe, and then you have your bow. You then also have your armor pieces, and that is a helmet, and then chest piece. You can also then upgrade the look of your wings. You also do have a mount, which I actually activated by mistake, but you don't really use it at all in the demo. And then you have like your potions, which increase your stamina if you're running low, increase your health again if you're running low, and 2 more which aren't present in this demo, and I'm not entirely sure what they are for. Of course, there's then also skill trees on top of that, and it looks like all weapons can also be upgraded. It definitely seems like there's going to be a lot of depth to this game. As you progress through the game, you're going to be making your character stronger and stronger and kind of shaping them into the way that you want them to be shaped. Now, the look of this game is gorgeous. It's kind of got that almost Breath of the Wild meets Fortnite kind of style. It's very sort of simple looking, bright colors. I think games like this age really well. They don't kind of look really bad in a couple of years, and it definitely suits the theme of this game because if you know anything about this game, it doesn't take itself seriously at all, which is kind of nice and refreshing from previous RPGs that I've played where they're all super serious doom and gloom. Not only that, the setting of the sort of Greek mythology is really interesting, and I can't wait to explore more and see what kind of gods pop up. Now when it comes to your attacks, you have a few different moves. You have your basic attack with your sword. You then also have a knock-up attack where you hold down your basic attack and you can knock the enemy up into the air. And then you have your heavy attack, which is your axe attack, and that will basically slam your axe, and that is mainly used for enemies who shield themselves. On top of that, you then have ability attacks where you hold down LB and then you can pick the different ones you want to activate. For instance, the ones we had in the demo allow you to smash down a giant hammer, which did a ton of damage but did cost a lot of stamina. And then you had one where a load of sort of spikes came up from the floor, and again you're going to be unlocking more of these as you progress through the main game. In terms of movement, it's pretty basic. You have your sprint, you have your dodge, you have your crouch, and that's kind of it. But a cool feature of this game is how you can basically get around the island quicker. So in parts of the demo, you'll see there is wind coming up, and you can jump into the wind and activate your Phoenix wings, and that will allow you to glide up and then glide over to places that you wouldn't otherwise be able to reach, or just allow you to move through the island quicker. I believe there was something similar to this in Breath of the Wild with sort of the parachute mechanic, but again, I haven't played that, so I'm not 100% sure. One thing I do know is the same as Breath of the Wild is the stamina when you're climbing. So as you climb up, and you can pretty much climb up any wall in this game, your stamina bar is going to be going down, and if you're halfway up your climb and your stamina bar runs out, well, you're going to fall. Now, one thing that really gets me excited for this game is the puzzles, and there are a few in the demo. For instance, this one I found, it was a gold wall. It looked like it could be broken down, so I decided to swing into it. It did indeed break, and inside you had a pretty simple puzzle where you needed to stand on a platform, shoot your arrow through a gate that would then unlock another gate you could go through, and you would find the treasure chest on the other side. One I found a little bit later on, which wasn't marked by any objective and wasn't on my main path, was one where I went over to again this sort of gold section and needed to shoot a guided arrow through all these different loops until I got to the end and could light a fire. I then had to make my way all the way over and claim my chest, which in doing so actually gave me an upgraded bow and arrow. And that gets me super excited. I feel like this game is going to have a ton of puzzles and a ton of sort of secret items to go out and find, whether that is armor, bows, swords, or even axes. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff you could just completely miss if you're playing through this game just for the story and not really exploring. And again, that's what gets me excited. I feel like I'm going to be doing a lot of guides for how you complete puzzles and where you can find some of these cool items. Now, the mission structure from the demo was actually pretty fun as well. You'd basically make your way through a lot of different enemies till eventually you got to this point where you fought a sort of mini boss. And the two characters who are speaking to you, which is Zeus and Prometheus, kind of have a joke, and they can't really decide on what the enemy you're fighting is, and they go through a lot of different variations until finally they just go, you know what, you're fighting a load of chickens, and well, you fight a load of chickens. That is then followed by a little puzzle where you have to pick up these orbs and place them in the corresponding locations to create a constellation. However, not all the orbs are present, so you need to go over to each different side of the area, do a small little puzzle just by putting blocks on pressure pads, and then bring the orbs back over and put them in place. That then led on to another small fight with these sort of harpy enemies, until eventually you got your harp and then made your way all the way back to the Cyclops and fought him. And he was a pretty decent boss. Obviously this boss was probably fairly easy because it is a demo and I went for the easy mode. There is a story, easy, medium, and a hard difficulty for this game, and it'll be very interesting to see what that harder difficulty is like. But overall, the gameplay structure of the mission was super fun and just kind of chill and relaxing. I didn't need to think too much about what I was doing. I could just sort of casually sit back and play through. I started off the game playing with keyboard and mouse, and I'm not a keyboard and mouse player, but it wasn't too bad to get used to. I did have to rebind some of my keys, but halfway through I realized I could just plug in an Xbox controller and that would sync up with Stadia. And that's where my problem came with the demo, at least. Maybe it's going to be different in the full game. We'll have to wait and see, but it's where the buttons are located for different moves and how you sprint, and you couldn't really rebind your controller buttons kind of how you wanted. So the controls on an Xbox controller, and obviously this will go for a PlayStation controller as well, is A is jump, X on an Xbox controller is sprint and dodge. That meant every time you wanted to sprint, you would start your sprint with a dodge. Now, I tried to rebind the sprint to the left analog stick, which is what you'd normally get in a game, but doing so also rebound the dodge as well, which is a little bit strange seeing as they were two separate options in the controller settings. Again, hopefully that changes in the full game. You then had RB and RT as your main attacks. You had B as crouch and the ability to then glide, and Y was your interact button. Holding down LB would then bring up your other abilities, and then those were bound to A, X, Y, and B. Now I would change that slightly. I would have maybe X as your interact button. I would personally have B as dodge and crouch. I think I would then change Y to be my basic attack and RB to be my heavy attack, and then maybe holding RT or again LB would bring up my other options. It seems like this game kind of goes out of its way to sort of change controls from what you're used to in most other games. So hopefully the controls are a little bit better in the full game, or I'm actually able to rebind things how I want in the full game, because that just wasn't present here with a controller at least. Obviously with keyboard and mouse you could do basically anything you wanted, and that's really my only complaint about the demo so far. Again, I had a blast playing through it. It was probably about a 40 to 50 minute demo, and it really does give you a super good taste of what the full game is going to be like. I had a look at the map, and obviously the map was hidden, so we can't really get an idea for how big the playable space is, but from the trailers we have seen there looks to be a lot of different environments to go through. Hopefully again there's a lot of puzzles to sort of challenge you and find, and a load of secrets to find along the way, and hopefully the story doesn't get a little bit boring and the mission structure stays fresh throughout the whole thing. As I said at the beginning, I am now even more excited to play this game when it launches on December 3rd. Again, if you want to go check out the demo for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below. You literally just log on to your Chrome browser and boom, you're away playing it. Again, because it is streaming through Stadia, it might not look the sharpest, and you might run into some issues where it suddenly sort of freezes up a bit, but I think that is simply because it is running through Stadia. I think I'm definitely going to be making a ton of guides for this game, whether that is armor and weapons and where you can find them, how to complete puzzles, or just a playthrough of the game. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this, and also if you do play the demo, you do get a special armor set which will unlock in the full game, so there's that. So there you have it. That is my impressions on Immortals Fenyx Rising. I still really want to be calling this game Gods and Monsters, but no, Immortals Fenyx Rising. Let me know in the comments below, have you played this demo for yourself, and if so, what did you think of it? Or have you not and you're just super excited for this game? Or maybe this is a game you haven't even heard of and seeing this video has maybe made you intrigued to try it out for yourself. Again, let me know in the comments below, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure you click that like button, and if you're not already, make sure you subscribe for more gaming content and coverage. We are just about to hit sort of the end of the year rush where a ton of games come out, and I'm going to be trying to cover as many as I can for you guys. If you'd like to stay up to date with myself, you can follow me over on Twitter at IamMisterBo. You can also join our Discord server to talk about games and all sorts of things. Links to both of those in the description below. Apart from all of that though, thank you very much for hanging out with me. I do super appreciate it. Hopefully I will catch you in some future content, but until then, as always, make sure you take care. Bye bye.